West.
People will do anything for money.
He amassed billions through ruthless business decisions.
I am basically there to make money. I cannot and do not look at the social consequences of what I do.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Here it's Lavender here, and today I am doing another true crime case. Today I am doing the true crime case of the Rana Plaza disaster, the garment factory collapse disaster that was totally preventable. This preventable disaster killed at least 1,132 people and injured more than 2,500 people. I'm doing this case because on YouTube, when people do true crime videos, I really don't see many people talking about the injustices of capitalism and how capitalist pigs, purposely hide things that results in the deaths of their employees, and no one is holding them accountable. I always see true crime videos about oh, this guy is a serial killer, he killed all these people, or this person killing one person or something. I don't see any I don't see any videos on YouTube, as in true crime, talking about how capitalist pigs murder their workers every day, and try to hide and cover things up, and then it results in their employees' deaths. I think it's wrong. And I'm doing this video because as an anti-capitalist, and since I am anti-capitalism, it is my duty to bring, shed light on this tragedy and tragedies underneath capitalism, because these people are victims of capitalism. It doesn't matter if this was a disaster or not. People knew about this and they tried covering it up, and it resulted in people's deaths, which is murder. So I'm going to make this video because I think it's my responsibility to, and I want to spread the injustice of capitalism. And people are victims of capitalism. We need to get that out there more. So let's get started into this video. So yeah, here we go. So this case has been featured in a number of TV and media and TV. It has been featured in Closed to Die For in 2014, which is a small documentary. It also was featured in Rana Plaza, Let Not the Hope Die, which came out in 2014, and that's also another documentary. And there's also this one that loosely touches on this case. It is called The True Cost 2015 documentary on how fast fashion affects, the world and stuff. So yeah. So those are some of the documentaries and, that cover this true crime case. So let's get started into the background of this true crime case and what happened and all the events that happened leading up to, recently, as in 2021, what happened with this disaster. So let's get started into this video. So here we go, background. So this building housed a number of separate garment factories employing around 5,000 people, several shops, and a bank within the factory. The factories manufactured apparel like fast fashion brands such as Prada, Gucci, Versace, The Children's Place, and Walmart are just some of the examples of where this factory, was operating for. The head of the Bangladesh Fire Service and Civil Defense said that the upper 4 floors had been built without a permit illegally. Rana Plaza's architect, Masood Reyes, sorry if I'm saying that wrong, said that the building was planned for shops and offices, but not for factories or factory work. Other architects stressed the risks involved in placing factories inside a building designed only for shops and offices, noting that the structure was potentially not strong enough to bear the weight and of the heavy machinery, including all the people that would be inside the building. So one day before the collapse, a TV channel recorded footage that showed cracks in the Rana Plaza building. Later that day, the CEO, Savil Rana, said to the media that the building was safe and the workers should return tomorrow. Managers threatened to withhold a month's pay from workers who refused to come to work on that day. This is a very capitalist pig manipulation to force people to come to work in expense of their own lives. Many workers were worried. People did not want to go there because of all these conditions and horrible things that were being covered up at this factory. Employees that worked there said the cracks were very common down the walls of the building, and the building was making strange noises leading up to this catastrophic event that could have been preventable. These workers labored long hours in unsafe working conditions, earning an average of $50 a month. And their managers, aka Porky, the cow's pigs, were threatening to withhold a month's pay from workers who refused to come to work. And the average earning was $50 a month. Think about that for a second. That's like pure gaslighting manipulation by the cow's pigs. On the morning of April 24th, there was a power outage and diesel generators at the top of the floor were started. The building collapsed at about 8:57 a.m., leaving only the ground floor intact. It was confirmed that 3,100 workers were in the building at the time of the collapse. One of the garment manufacturer's websites indicates that more than half of the victims were women working on low pay, along with a number of their own children who were in a nursery facilities within the building also. So not only do you have, workers being murdered, but you also have, cow's pigs putting children's lives at danger of their employees. Rana, sorry if I'm saying that wrong, I'm not really good at names, sorry if I mispronounce any names, said to the media that the building was safe and completely fine, and the workers should return to work the next day, regardless of all the media and news coverage. One manager of the factories at the Rana Plaza reported that Rana told them that the building was safe, knowing that it was not safe. Obviously, the building was not safe. They knew it wasn't safe, but they tried covering it up regardless anyways. Managers then requested the workers go back to work. As a result, workers also returned to the factories the next day, like I said. Just the decision by capitalist pigs to send wage slave workers who don't make that much money anyways back into the factories, they knowingly did that, knowing the conditions of the factories and the building and how much horrible shape it was in. And it was mainly due to the pressure to complete orders on time, because this is a fast fashion. Fast fashion is really bad. Putting lives at risk just for profits is very common of capitalism and the capitalist pigs and Porky. Because capitalism puts profits over human lives. That's what capitalism does. That's why we need to start talking about, the victims of capitalism more, as in true crime. When the building collapsed, here are the after effects on some of the victims that I looked up of this preventable accident. There was a 32-year-old victim who walks around with a crutch and suffers from terrible headaches. And this guy, it was just so sad, poor guy. And there was another victim, a 26-year-old woman, who now lives in her bed. She doesn't really get out of bed. She really spends her days now watching television and TV and sleeping thanks to the sleeping pills and pain medication that she is dependent on for her pain. She cannot read, she can no longer have children, and she can barely move, as her spinal cord was crushed and her pelvis in this accident. To go to the bathroom is an ordeal in itself, she said. A 28-year-old victim, who is also a widow with a 14-year-old daughter, says she cannot afford to send to school her 14-year-old daughter. Her kidneys were smashed in this accident, as was her right hand. Those are just some of the victims that we're going to be talking about in this, so yeah. The day after the Rana Plaza building collapsed, a case was filed against the owners of the building and the 5 garment factory operations inside of it. An arrest was ordered of Rana, the CEO of the building, and 4 of the owners of the garment factories operating within the building. 2 days after the building collapsed, garment workers and workers across, Bangladesh and across the world, across industrial areas, rioted, targeting vehicles, commercial buildings, and garment factories. The next day, leftist political parties demanded the arrest and trial of the suspects, the CEO, and etc. 4 days after the building collapsed, the owner of the Rana Plaza, Rana, was arrested on the Indo-Bangladeshi border by security forces. On the same day, a fire broke out at the disaster site, and authorities were forced to temporarily suspend it. During International Workers' Day, thousands of protesting workers paraded through central Dhaka, sorry if I'm saying that wrong, to demand safer working conditions and better pay, and the death penalty for the owner of the Rana Plaza building. A week after hundreds of survivors of Bangladesh's worst industrial disaster blocked a main highway to demand better wages, as the death toll from the collapse passed 700 at this point. On August 30th, 100 days after the collapse of Rana Plaza, injured workers and family members of those who died there, along with workers' rights activists, inaugurated a memorial for the tragedy. A crude statue of two fists thrusting towards the sky grasps a hammer and sickle, which is the communism symbol. The police attempted to stop the resurrection of the memorial several times. It remains the only memorial dedicated to this tragedy. On August 29, 2017, the factory owner Samuel Rana was sentenced to a maximum of 3 years in prison by a court for failing to declare his personal wealth to the country's anti-graft commission. Rana and 37 others, including government officials, have also been charged with murder and could receive the death penalty if they are found responsible for the complex's collapse. As of today, just like the victims of the Bhopal, India gas disaster, compensations to families of disaster victims were still under discussion, and this case continues to evade justice. And there's not that much justice that got out of this. That's why I'm talking about this, with many families struggling to survive after the fact, after having lost a major wage earner. Families who have received the $200 compensation from Premark were only those able to provide DNA samples evidence as their relative's death within the collapse, which proved extremely difficult for victims. The U.S. government provided DNA kits to families of the victims, but just like I said, there's not that much justice that comes out of this because, again, capitalism puts profits over human lives, and that's why we need to talk about this when it comes to true crime, because capitalist pigs are getting away with murder, and, the workers and the 99%, suffer because of it. This was a completely preventable disaster, and these are victims of capitalism, because capitalism puts human lives at risk just for profits, and more people need to talk about this. So if you guys like this video, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Bye guys, see you next video.